Hello, welcome. This story is about a woman who had nothing left. No family, no allies, no power, just rage and a shattered heart. After losing everything to the cruelty of those in power, she made a vow to bring them all down, no matter the cost. Even if that meant making a deal with the devil himself. But when that devil turns out to be a man more dangerous and more alluring than she ever imagined, the line between revenge and desire begins to blur. Can she hold on to her soul, or will she lose herself completely in this dark, seductive game? Stay with me, because what happens next changes everything. Suddenly, the doors of the meeting room burst open. A woman with striking red hair walked in with unwavering steps. The sharp sound of her heels echoed through the room. Everyone turned to look at her in stunned silence. At the head of the table, the CEO, a dignified man with white beard and hair, stood up abruptly. His voice cut through the air as he demanded to know what Evangeline was doing there. She stopped at the corner of the long table, locking eyes with him. Her expression was unreadable as she asked what he meant by that. According to her, she should be the one asking that question. After all, she reminded him that she was the CEO of the company, and he had the audacity to question her presence in the room. His gaze hardened. He told her to leave immediately, promising to speak with her once they were home. He added that she couldn't just barge into a board meeting so disrespectfully. Confusion flickered across her face. Her hands trembled as she said she couldn't understand any of it. She demanded an explanation, right there and then. She wanted to know why he was doing this. The CEO, now seated again, raised his voice and shouted her name. He declared without hesitation that from that day forward, she would step down as CEO. Her entire body froze. He continued, explaining that the board had already chosen her replacement and that transition would happen as soon as possible. She tried to make sense of what she had just heard. The room felt heavier. The board members shifted in their seats and avoided her eyes. Not a single person spoke. Her voice dropped, disbelief seeping into her words. She asked if they were really stripping her of her position. She questioned why. Inside her mind, she reminded herself of everything she had done to raise the company to its current heights. Her grandfather tried again to tell her to go home. He promised they'd talk later, but she interrupted, her voice rising in fury. She shouted that she wanted the truth now. Her fists clenched, her voice cracked with anger. She demanded to know what was happening. He finally stood and shouted back, revealing the truth. She was not his legitimate granddaughter. A storm of confusion swirled within her. She questioned whether he was joking. Her voice quivered as she asked how he could say something so cruel. He didn't flinch. He told her the DNA results had come in the day before. She wasn't related to the family by blood. She refused to believe it. She insisted there had to be some mistake. But he shut her down again. There was no mistake, he said. He instructed her to leave and wait at home. She stood there, fists still trembling, and asked if he was saying she was no longer qualified to be CEO simply because she wasn't blood-related. He didn't answer. He turned away, his face serious. A laugh broke out from her lips, bitter and sharp. She called it nonsense. Her grandfather tried to soften the blow. He told her she would remain a member of the board of directors, but the damage was already done. Her eyes narrowed. She asked with mock amusement if her younger sister was the one replacing her. Her gaze darkened as she laughed again, low and full of fury. He looked at her, unable to hide his disbelief. She raised her hand as if to say something but caught herself. Her tone shifted as she addressed him again, not as family, but as a businessman. She called him Mr. Young, cold and deliberate. She warned him. Without her, XY Corporation would collapse into ruin. She told him to mark her words with a final glare. She turned and left the room. Her stride was bold, but her heart pulsed with betrayal and rage. She had already made up her mind. The company would fall. Later, at the hospital, she sat with the DNA report in her hands. They trembled as she read the results. The chairman had been telling the truth. She thought to herself that this must be the reason she had been treated like a robot her entire life. Now that she had succeeded, they were casting her aside like a used tool. She left the hospital in silence, climbed into her car, and drove with urgency. Anger still simmered within her. There was more fuel to the fire. Julian wasn't answering her calls. She wondered aloud why he was ignoring her. Her jaw clenched as she pressed harder on the accelerator. She reached his apartment building and rushed to the elevator. Inside, she bit her nails anxiously. She thought he was the only one who could explain things, the only one who might understand. Once the elevator stopped, she stepped out, walked quickly to his door, and tapped in the password. As she opened the door, something caught her attention immediately. A pair of red high heels sat neatly by the entrance. They weren't hers. She stood frozen. Her instincts told her what she would find. Without making a sound, she walked barefoot through the apartment. Her ears caught faint voices behind the bedroom door. She pushed it open. There they were, her sister, her fiancé. Together. Julian didn't hesitate to lash out. He asked why she was there and told her to get out. He even threatened to drag her out if he had to. She stared at him, a storm behind her eyes. Julian told her it was over. He said he had heard the news and never wanted to see her again. Her body trembled, but she told herself not to cry. She refused to shed even a single tear. Not for him, not for anyone. She looked at him with a strange calm. Her voice was quiet, but fierce as she said that one day he would regret everything. Then she turned away and walked out, never once looking back. In the car, her hands clutched the steering wheel. Her teeth ground together. She asked herself why. Why had they all betrayed her? Why had they cast her away so easily? Hadn't she done everything a good granddaughter was supposed to do, even after the cold way they treated her? She cried out, in frustration, wondering how they could do this to her. She slammed on the brakes. Forcing herself to calm down, she took deep breaths. Then slowly, she stepped out of the car. Across the street, a neon sign flickered. Devil's Den. She didn't hesitate. Her feet carried her toward it. Inside, the music pounded and the crowd swayed with the beat. She stood out in her formal attire but didn't care. She made her way to the bar and asked for a drink. The bartender gave her a strong one. She took a gulp and winced. He noticed and commented that she wasn't used to strong alcohol. He suggested something more suited for a lady. She smiled faintly and told him the drink was fine. She was there to get drunk, truly drunk, for the first time in her life. Time passed. She sat alone at the bar, growing dizzy. From afar, she watched women dancing. Her gaze grew distant. She spoke aloud to herself, her voice low and filled with weariness. She had worked so hard for so many years. While others were living normal lives, enjoying youth, she had sacrificed everything. She had buried herself in degrees, in work, in effort, hoping one day to be acknowledged by her so-called family. She had slept countless nights in her office, working to save the company, and now, none of it mattered. No one valued her sacrifices. Her family had never accepted her. Her fiancé had discarded her like a toy. She clenched her glass tightly. Her voice was bitter as she reminded herself of the truth. She wasn't a young, not by blood. They never saw her as one of them. She had been nothing more than a pawn. She had to remember that. She would make them all regret it, every last one. Her hand slammed onto the counter. Voice beside her asked if she had enough money and power to bring them down. She turned her head and saw a man she hadn't noticed before. He was tall, sharply dressed, with piercing gray eyes and brown hair that caught the light. There was something mysterious about him. She stared at him in silence, and then finally, a small, dangerous smile tugged at her lips. She looked at him, her blue eyes wide with astonishment. Her lips parted as if to speak, but before she could form a word, he leaned in and asked her a question that cut straight through her thoughts. Did she have enough money and power to bring them all down? She frowned, her gaze locking with his. No answer came. She didn't need to speak. She already knew the truth. She had neither. Silently, she stood up. Her body wobbled from the alcohol and the storm of emotions surging within her. Then, without warning, she grabbed the collar of his white shirt and yanked him closer until their faces were inches apart. Anger burst from her like a flame as she screamed at him. Her voice shook, but her fury was unwavering. She admitted she had no power, no money, not yet, but she swore that she would find a way. One day they would all beg. Her trembling hands clenched at the fabric of his shirt. She would do anything to make them all regret what they did. Her whole body shook with rage, her eyes never leaving his. She screamed her final vow into the space between them, even if it meant selling her soul. He didn't flinch. Instead, he smirked, amused by her declaration. Then his tone shifted, deep and low, warning her. She should be careful what she wished for. A certain devil might just be listening. And if he were to grant her wish, he would come to claim her soul in return. She loosened her grip on his shirt, her hand slowly letting him go. Her eyes narrowed with a dangerous gleam as she replied, voice still thick with drink and fury. If that devil was around, he should show himself. She was more than ready to make a deal. He chuckled and called her brave, but he reminded her that bravery often comes from drunken foolishness. He told her she might want to wait until she was sober, because once he introduced her to the devil, there would be no turning back. She scoffed, insisting she wasn't drunk. Her voice trembled with desperation and determination. She demanded to meet him, the one who could give her everything she wanted. She said she would follow him without hesitation, even if it led to the depths of hell. He grinned, a dangerous glint flashing in his eyes. Then he stood up from his seat, hands in his pockets, and walked toward her. He towered over her as he approached. He leaned down, bringing his face close to hers, until their eyes met at the same height. Then, with a mysterious smile, he touched her chin and whispered. Her wish was his command. He would gladly introduce her to the devil she sought. The next morning, she woke up somewhere unfamiliar. Her eyes blinked open slowly, and she stared at the ceiling above her. A glittering chandelier hung in the center, casting a soft glow over the room. She sat, up in bed, dazed and confused. Where was she? She looked around, taking in the gold accents and ornate decor of the extravagant room. Nothing about it felt real. Was she dreaming? Her head throbbed with a dull ache, and then, like shards of broken glass, memories from the night before started to piece themselves together. She had been at the bar, she had been drinking, and then she met a man. Her breath caught as flashes of the encounter flooded her mind. She had spoken to him, yelled at him, made a declaration. Her eyes widened in panic. Oh no. She scrambled to check her body, her hands running down her arms, then through her hair. She yanked the blanket off and saw that she was still wearing her clothes from the previous night. She turned her head quickly and spotted her belongings placed neatly on an armchair nearby. Her suit, her high heels, her glasses, everything was there, untouched. She glanced down again and let out a shaky breath. Nothing had happened. She didn't feel anything out of place. No marks, no pain, no signs. Had that man brought her here? She dropped her face into her hands and groaned. What had she gotten herself into? She slid off the bed and stood up, bare feet pressing against the cold floor. A sharp, unpleasant smell made her wrinkle her nose. She lifted her arm and sniffed. Her clothes reeked, she muttered to herself in frustration. She smelled like the sewers. Without wasting another second, she grabbed her suit, high heels, and glasses, and stormed out of the room. As she wandered through the mansion, her footsteps slowed. Her breath caught in her throat. Was she inside an ancient chateau? She blinked in disbelief, eyes wide and mouth parted. Every corner of the place exuded luxury. Black marble steps gleamed under the golden glow of antique lights. Bronze handrails curled elegantly, their shine complementing the intricate floor design. Towering chandeliers hung in silent grandeur, especially in the massive ballrooms that stretched far and wide. This wasn't just any mansion. It looked like a place built in the 1800s, regal, haunting, and impossibly grand. At the front door, a chandelier larger than any other hung from the ceiling, radiant and imposing, like a jeweled crown welcoming royalty. Still overwhelmed, she descended the staircase slowly, head craned to take in every detail. Her mouth remained slightly open, unable to hide her awe. There was even a wickedly ornate fireplace, carved in dark stone and decorated with golden serpents. Everything sparkled as if the house had been frozen in time. How on earth did she end up in a place like this? Then finally she saw the front door. A rush of hope surged through her. She darted toward it, her hand reached for the brass doorknob. And then she heard it. A smooth, teasing voice behind her. "Escaping already, little kitten?" She froze instantly. Slowly she turned around, heart racing. There he was, the man from the previous night, standing with a glass of red wine in hand, dressed in a black silk robe that clung effortlessly to his frame. The morning light highlighted his sharp features and unruly hair, giving him a dangerously divine look. For a moment, she stared. Too long. She realized it, and quickly averted her eyes, trying to recover. With a straight face, she asked where she was, feigning composure. He answered easily, still smiling. This was his home, her brow furrowed in disbelief. Was he trying to be funny? He chuckled softly and added another remark, his tone laced with irony. She had wanted to meet the devil after all. Her glare sharpened. Was he playing games with her? Suddenly, flashes of the night before came crashing back into her mind. The things she said, the way she acted. She slapped her own forehead, mortified. He stepped closer, reached out gently, and adjusted her glasses before they slid down. His fingertips pressed lightly against her temple, steadying them. "Easy there, pet." Her hand shot up, grabbing his wrist. Anger flared in her eyes. She told him not to call her that. She wasn't his pet. He only smiled in return. Calm. Unbothered. She shoved his hand away, jaw clenched. He teased her again, telling her to loosen up. Said she was being far too serious. She took a breath, collected herself, and turned toward the door again. She had made her decision. She was leaving. She thanked him, with formality, and apologized for the trouble. Just as her fingers curled around the doorknob again, his arm swooped past her, slamming against the door and stopping her in place. "Wait!" The sound echoed through the hall. His voice dropped lower, almost a whisper against her ear, smooth and confident. If she thought a simple thank you and sorry were enough, she had misunderstood. He leaned closer, his presence overwhelming. He was not satisfied with just that, not after everything she did. Her breath hitched. What did he mean by that? What things? She blinked. Her thoughts raced. Did she do something she couldn't remember? He raised an eyebrow. She hadn't remembered yet. That was fine, he said. He would show her some evidence. She stuttered the word. Evidence? He smirked and stepped in front of her. They faced each other. Then, without breaking eye contact, he slid the robe from his shoulders. Her eyes widened. His chest was bare, toned, and impossible to ignore. But what truly caught her attention, what sent her heart into her throat, was his neck. 2 red marks. Clear, indented, a perfect imprint of teeth. Not just a mark, a hickey. She gasped in horror. Her face turned pale. He tilted his head slightly, pointing to the mark with a wicked grin. Right here, little kitten. Her body froze. The evidence was undeniable, and it was hers. Several hours earlier, inside what many called the Devil's Den, he was leading her toward a sleek black car parked just outside the building. Her steps were uneven. She wobbled slightly. Careful, he said, with calm precision. When they arrived, he gestured toward the vehicle. We're here. She stopped, frowning. Where's the devil? You said you were going to take me to meet him. Don't tell me this car is him. Her voice was sharp with irritation. He smiled at her reaction. How adorable. You're trying to fool me, aren't you? I'm not, miss. It's just that the devil told me he doesn't speak to drunk people. So, for now, I'm sending you home. Once you're sober, I'll bring you to him personally. She scoffed, stubborn. I told you I'm not. She stumbled mid-sentence and tripped, her balance giving way. But, before she could fall, he caught her effortlessly. What's your address? Or is there anyone I can call? Anyone. She gave a bitter smile, her eyes clouding with something deeper. I don't want to go home. And there's no one I could call. Then something changed. A sudden spark of determination lit up in her eyes. Without hesitation, she stepped closer, placing both hands on his chest and pushing him toward the car. This is exactly why you need to take me to him now. The man didn't budge easily, but she didn't back down. She yanked the car door open and shoved him inside. I can't waste any more time. I'm not in a condition to drive, so you do it. She slammed the door shut, staggered to the other side, opened it, and fell into the passenger seat. Now drive. She glanced sideways. He was just sitting there, silently glaring. Why are you not starting the car? What are you waiting for? A bribe? She pulled out her wallet and opened it. Empty. With a groan, she tried another approach. Fine. What do you want? She paused, studied his face. An idea flickered in her mind. He noticed the change in her expression. Now what's with that look? His voice was amused. He smiled, as if already predicting her next move. She hesitated. Then, deciding, she stood up, slightly, and crawled across the seat toward him. His eyes widened. Since I have no money, I guess this should be enough. She leaned in and began kissing his neck, softly at first, then more intensely, her lips pressing and sucking against his skin. He froze, startled by the boldness. You need to stop now, miss, or else you'll regret it. But she didn't stop. She bit down harder, her grip tightening. Just as he began to stiffen, not in resistance but something else, her body tensed. And then it happened. She vomited on him. The moment shattered. Panic flashed in his eyes. This little... He sighed, pulling away as she slumped over, unconscious. She had completely passed out. No sign of waking anytime soon. Now you've done it, little kitten. He sighed again, softer this time, and gently moved her to the passenger seat, laying her back against the upholstery. Her breathing was deep and even, lost in drunken sleep. He grabbed his phone and made a call. A few minutes later, another car arrived. A man stepped out, ready to receive the soiled clothes. Gage quickly stripped off the stained garments and handed them over without ceremony. Once cleaned, he returned to the car, dressed again, calm once more. He sat behind the wheel, glanced at her sleeping figure, and pulled her gently into his chest. "Since you're so eager to go, I'll take you to him. You have no choice now." With that, he sped off into the night, her head resting against his heart. Back to the present, Eva groaned internally, a pounding ache in her skull. "Now you've really done it, Eva. Alcohol brings nothing but headaches." She glanced at the man beside her. What is he up to? Why is he being like this? There must be some ulterior motive behind it. "Fine. What do you want from me? How much do you—" She stopped mid-sentence. He didn't look like someone who needed money. Not at all. She looked around again. The room was stunning, drenched in wealth and elegance. The entrance hall alone had a marble fountain. Above them, a glass ceiling let sunlight in, framing a grand chandelier. An elegant harp stood in the corner like an ornament from another world. Could someone who lived in a place like this truly need anything from her? But what if he didn't actually own this place? Still, something about him felt real. Noble, like a high-ranking aristocrat. She narrowed her eyes, studying him. I've met aristocrats before, she thought, and this man exudes an even stronger presence. Just who is he? Are my instincts exaggerating again? Who are you? He smiled. Who am I? How about you guess, pet? I don't have time to play guessing games. That's a shame. His smile was brighter now. Teasing. This man is strange, she thought with a frown. He doesn't seem annoyed by me at all. Most people can't wait to end a conversation with me. So why is he still here, dragging it out? He tilted his head slightly. All right then. I am the devil. Silence. She stared at him, disbelieving. He couldn't. Be serious. This man is the devil? No way. If you're not going to take me seriously, then I'm leaving. He calmly sipped his wine, unbothered by her frustration. She watched him closely. Every movement felt deliberate, graceful. Is it just me? Or is he really trying to seduce me? How can someone exude such elegance just by drinking a glass of wine? This man is dangerous, the kind of man every sane woman should run from. She shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts, pressed her forehead, sighing. He reached over, gently pressing a finger to the spot between her brows. This line right here is going to become permanent if you keep frowning like that. And whose fault is that? You're not taking me seriously. I am taking you very seriously, pet. Saying you're the devil counts as serious? I'm not drunk anymore. So please be honest. If not, just let me go. All right, all right. He studied her for a moment. Then slowly, he extended a hand. Gage. My name is Gage Acheron. His voice was calm, serious, and finally she listened. That's it for today. If you liked, don't forget to enable the YouTube notification bell and subscribe to follow the next parts. If you want a continuation, mention in comments. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.